So I think we're live now. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Holo Voyage Inception album launch. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. We have with us Gabriella, also known as Gaiea Sanskrit, with us, joining in from the UK. We have John McDowell joining in from upstate New York, the musician. You can see him in his studio, and I'm also in our little cabin upstate. We're very happy to be here with all of you. Just on a bit of a, it is a celebratory thing, so we're very happy with this, but on a somber note, we also are looking at all of the suffering and the pain with the COVID outbreak in India and in Latin America. Many other places in the world are still suffering from COVID, and it's such a sad time. There are people who always have a hard time in life, but COVID has brought this, very close to all of us. So what we would like to do is start with a word of prayer and some healing to the folks that are grappling with this. So maybe I'll chant then, and you can join us. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet.
Om Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Om Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma gridha dukha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I totally forgot the last line of that prayer. It just went
I was going
up,
to say it, but then I thought
Kaschid.
you probably say something else that would be a good substitute.
Yeah. Ma kaschid dukha bhag bhavet. I've never sung it with this new tune before, so it meant my head
kind of threw you off.
Yeah.
We learned this, I learned this at the ashram, at Ananda ashram. Bharati ji sang it many times, also on a CD actually, and we use that prayer at the Jivamukti classes also. It's in actually one of the recordings. So, but anyway, here we are. So, John, do you have anything to say about that?
Oh, I just wondered, maybe for people who don't know Sanskrit, you could just a brief translation of what was sung.
Oh, translation is, well, yes, that's a good point, because there's people who are coming from all over. Oh yeah, we must welcome all of the community people that are coming from John's world, the Rudolf Steiner community, some other friends of mine in the mainstream. They look at all the yoga people as tree huggers, so they're also watching. So for all of them, so hey, Gabs, you're the Sanskrit scholar. Can you tell the meaning?
I think we might have been proven otherwise, but sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve all bhavantu be happy. So sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve all santu, may they be niramayaha, free from disease, free from anything that's unprocessed and not worked through, thought through, and gone through to its fullest conclusion. So we had first line, sarve bhavantu sukhinaha. Second line, sarve santu niramayaha. Third line, sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Sarve all again, bhadrani good things, pashyantu may they see. So, and seeing, the pashyati, not just, it includes the seeing, physical seeing, but also the whole experience. So may we experience good things, may we live in it, hopefully a good, healthy way. And then the last line, which Hari sounded perfectly, you see, it's ma, and then next word,
Kaschid, yeah.
Kaschid dukkha bhag bhaveta. Ma kaschid, nothing, no one. May we not see ma kaschid dukkha, misery, bhaveta, there should not be. So may there be no misery of any kind, no suffering of any kind. Obviously, misery and suffering are natural in this life, like we'll suffer just by being alive. But this prayer is really asking, may our response to these crises not create extra suffering. The crises are enough in themselves. Natural crises happen all the time, but may there be no extra suffering we put on top of that. So may we be happy, may we be free from dis-ease, may we see the good, and may none be in misery of any kind. May no one be in misery of any kind.
There's this teacher, I forgot who said it in the beginning, but I think Joan used to talk about it, that pain is, Joan Suval at the ashram, who passed away last year, actually. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. That, it's hard to say when we're okay and happy and healthy. It's very hard to look at someone and say, well, you shouldn't be. But listen, this is quite exciting for us because it's been a long journey. Holo Voyage basically is a very simple offering. It's an offering from our hearts, the three of us, Gabriella, John, and myself, to give space between all these external happenings that could bring us up and down. This music, it has Sanskrit, it has music, it actually has vibration and healing. And the idea is that the world needs more healing music and chants. And the music obviously is inspired by many extraordinary people in my life and in other people's lives. Shyam Das has been a huge influence that has inspired devotion, kirtan, and bhakti in a number of us. So, in fact, the first track of the album, Shamno Mitra, is something that he made very popular. It's something that, Gabriella, you also taught at the ashram when you came. So Shyam Das is a huge inspiration behind it. And also Sharon Gannon's spiritual music. Sharon, by the way, for people who don't know, is the founder of Jivamukti Yoga, along with David Life. They've lived an extraordinary life of inspiration, brought yoga and all these teachings into mainstream life. In fact, Jivamukti Yoga has 5 tenets, and they are, there you go. Thank you, Caroline. Ahimsa, Bhakti, Dhyana, Nada Yoga, and Shastra. So basically the Holo Voyage album encapsulates, I think, the Bhakti aspect, the Nada aspect, obviously, of sound, vibration, and the and the texts and the content is the sort of the Agama Shastra, the ancient wisdom where we gain our knowledge, how to live our life even now. So, and then the music is supposed to invoke compassion in all of us. So it's also part of the Ahimsa track. So all the 5 elements of Jivamukti Yoga are somehow represented in this music. And so we are excited to offer this to not only the Jivamukti Yoga community of teachers and students and influencers all over the world who tirelessly work towards creating more compassion in life, teaching yoga and the philosophy behind yoga and bringing great music and chanting. And the Sanskrit is huge. For example, every week, Ruth Lauer Manenti, beloved yoga teacher, she transmits these beautiful yoga classes every week, and she picks extraordinary Sanskrit verses from the Yoga Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita, and people dive right into it. Everybody chants it. People know the meaning of it. It's just truly extraordinary that happens. So like that many teachers continue to bring this method to countless people all over the world. So I wanted to mention that. So we have, so maybe we start with Gabriela, also known as Gaiea. If you want to talk a little bit about your journey into Sanskrit, you have an extraordinary resume, so to speak, of Sanskrit and music. Do you want to talk about your lineage and your parampara, so to speak, and your travels all over the world, including your time in India?
Vande Guru Paramparam. Yes, the gurus and the teachers who have placed me here. And as you can see in this picture, there's the Sri Shankaracharya Shantananda Saraswati at the top, and next to him Sri Guru Dev. And these great beings have inspired the lineage, which is what my family follow. And you can see my mother and father and both grandmas have been great teachers. So it's a real lineage of strong women and obviously strong men. But my teachers have often, I feel, not been alive. So for instance, when I visited the Jivamukti ashram, not the Jivamukti ashram, but the Ananda ashram in upstate New York, and see here I am in the in the ashram, in the meditation room. There's such a strong presence there that I came away from the visit to the ashram feeling that Brahmananda Saraswati was my teacher, but I'd never come across him before. And I somehow felt that maybe meeting Hari, there was some inkling that, and it's perfectly easily could be superstition, but I don't care if it's superstition because I always follow how I feel in my heart. And it felt like somehow had been called there. And because an experience that had when was in the Ananda ashram was Hari asked if some chanting could be led by me one night. Do you remember, Hari? One night at Thanksgiving it was, I think. So in Thanksgiving evening, there was this big sort of gathering, and it was quite daunting and intimidating for me, to tell you the truth. But Hari doesn't care about that. He just throws you in and thinks everything's going to be fine, which is true. It will be fine always. And the best thing is to be thrown in the deep end. But I had a really quiet moment before that Thanksgiving chanting, and it was in the Ananda ashram, in this sort of temple room in the garden. And it was the room which has Sanskrit all around the ceiling. The letters of the Sanskrit Maheshwara Sutrani, or is it the Isha?
That's actually Guruji's Samadhi shrine. I mean, we don't have pictures of it. I don't think you could take pictures, but that's the room you were talking about. Yeah.
That's the room. I had no idea it's Guruji's Samadhi shrine. I had no idea. I just knew I had to go into that room. So I went in and sat in that room, and then I just asked for help. I didn't know who I was asking, but I asked for help. And I just felt like all the letters of the Sanskrit that were in that room, it was like they all swirled around the room and entered me. And then from that moment on, I mean, I know it sounds a bit over the top, but truly I experienced from that moment on in life, Sanskrit became in my heart. So I would say that's thanks to Guruji Brahmananda Saraswati, even though never met him, never obviously knew him, but the people at the Ananda Ashram who are continuing his lineage, like Bharati, who was in one of those pictures, having met her and attended some of her classes. And Bharati is another one who just throws you in the deep end. So when we were sitting in the ashram, first day of arriving, Bharati just says, because Hari, has this guest, so she knew had a connection with Sanskrit, so just says, do you want to take this next session? And of course I didn't. I way prefer to watch, because that's what happens. I can be tongue-tied sometimes, but it just flowed on from there, and we had that session. And yes, so there's many teachers in the life, and you can see some here on this slide as well. 2 ladies from the Ayurveda Institute in London, and some great music teachers too in Pune. So it's been a real sort of 2 paths. The music and the Sanskrit have gone hand in hand. And then I'd even say John's in the making of this album, like John McDowell has been a teacher too, because Hari obviously threw us both in the deep end and just put us both in John's studio, and we were like, let's make this album then. And we hadn't really met before, and we had those 2 weeks. But I learned a lot from John about the real preciousness of music, because I feel in my heart the preciousness of Sanskrit, but sometimes I can lose touch with the ability of a sound and a melody, and the importance of sound, melody, and story. And John really taught that things need to have a story, and that there needs to be something in my heart that I'm connecting to when singing, especially singing, not just chanting, but singing. So through the process, learned a lot from John.
Hey, look, if you are intimidated with somebody who's so talented, then there's hope for the rest of us mortals. We can be like, okay, if you get a little nervous. But the pictures you saw are in that summer when you came your first time. And then that's the evening when you taught, I think, or the next morning from the Taittiriya Upanishad, I think in that picture in the main meditation room downstairs, the room where it all happens all the time and happened for many, many years, you were teaching, I think, from basically you were translating the Shamno Mitra, Shamvaruna Shlokam, and that's actually the first track, the music in the album. So that's kind of cool. And then when you came back the second time, when we started to record the music, that was the Thanksgiving. When Sharon and David were there, it was a Jivamukti night also, like the way it's been done for many years. Every Thanksgiving, Jivamukti yoga teachers have a program. They teach yoga the whole weekend, and they join in with the ashram in celebrating that holiday here in the States. So you came at a great time. You met them. You met Sharon and David, I think, during our meal, and they saw you on stage. So that was really very interesting. And another character was there on that night is Yogi Karve, amazing clairvoyant seer. He's a Pandit, he and his family, they were there. So it all was quite exciting. So, you had pictures of all your teachers and friends. It sounds like you had a confluence of all these different teachings and people that have influenced you. If you say, if all in all of these amazing people that have impacted your life, Gabriela, what would you say 1 or 2 extraordinary beings that really took you from one place to a totally different place in terms of changing your energy and how in what you felt was your calling? When we spoke the first time of 2-3 years ago, you said your calling was to bring Sanskrit to the world. So when did you know that, or did any of these people totally make you feel like that this is what you need to do?
That's such a beautiful question, because it's really clarified something for me, and that's that no being ever told me it was what I needed to do, or I have never experienced it with any being. In fact, quite the opposite. There's even some teachers on this Guru Paramparam chart that in the past encouraged me to do Sanskrit because they saw it in me, but I would run away. I was like, no, I don't, this is not for me. So if anything, what you, in asking that question, you've really shown me that the calling came from deep within, and then everyone who, all the help arose, like all the teachers came, all the needs were met, if that makes sense, not just in Sanskrit, but in everything that would help me, like be able to sit for hours and hours chanting, or be able to sit for hours and hours teaching, be able to be comfortable in the body and be able to be at ease, that type of thing. But it felt like the calling came from within, not at a particular moment, but the story of the time in the Guruji's shrine, or what would you call it?
The Samadhi shrine, yes.
Samadhi shrine, things like that are examples when I really feel connected to that calling.
But that was only recently though, right? I mean, before
that was recently, but before that, in Pondicherry or Puducherry, I remember standing in the mother's playground and feeling the same type of thing. There's been moments like that, or in the Veda Vijnana Gurukulam in Bangalore, or in the Maitreyi Gurukulam in Karnataka, and just these few experiences in these places, not from a particular teacher as such, but something, it most probably in the places themselves, have reignited the thing that's in here.
Who are those women on the top left?
These ladies on the top left, because this Guru Paramparam chart that I have, I mean, this is just an excerpt of it.
It's a compilation, yeah.
Every single person that sort of taught me something really clear, I go home and place their picture on this chart, so that I can honor them, so to speak, whenever I remember. And these two ladies on the top left, there's Dr. Deepika on the top left. She's from Sri Lanka, and she's just a formidable, phenomenal, powerful woman who runs an Ayurveda center in London and teaches thousands and thousands of people Ayurveda. Wow. So, you know, her strength teaches me, her clarity of purpose. And Ajanta on the right came from being a barrister to helping run the Ayurveda center. And just they are both women who managed to marry living in the world with serving a purpose, and that I admire them so much, and they have taught me to be clear and focused.
Wonderful. Great. So let me then bring in John. You know, when we talked about Holo Voyage, the music, we kind of felt it was sort of an astral journey outside, you know, going into the space and the cosmos. But then we realized, due to COVID, everything we were doing had to sort of go inward. You know, we couldn't meet face to face much of last year. So after some of the initial recordings were done, a lot of work has to be done afterwards, obviously, you know, to pick the right tracks and put the music and all of it together. And John, just on his own, he did so much work. It was just an incredible offering of love and hard work from his heart. And we had challenges. Many times we didn't even know if we could finish it because we couldn't meet, all of us. But we had to somehow make it happen. So then it all became an internal journey. You know, it's sort of a holographic experience, going inward, listening to the music, and then dreaming that we can all be together someday and launch music. So John, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I just want to first say that it's just been so great working with you both, and thanks for both your kind words. And Gabrielle, I love what you just said. I think that's what I do feel like. There has to be a story, and even if it's not really in words, it could be images. And yeah, Hadi, I remember there was one day you showed up, and I put the headphone jack outside the window, and you were standing outside. It was probably 40 degrees, and you were listening with your headphones because you couldn't come inside because of COVID. Yeah, when we met, I trust Hadi that, you know, but he came and said, well, with this, I want to do this album, and do you want to, you know, work on the music, arrange it? And I think my first question was, what are the songs? And well, there's not songs yet. So it was okay. And I love Sanskrit and I love the chanting, but it's my weakest area. We laugh sometimes asking, what are those? What is that again? What is it? But I love that it's just thousands of years old and it has such beautiful meaning, as was translated in the beginning of this chant. I mean, maybe we were talking about this, maybe I'll just talk about my background a little, because that's what.
Yeah, please, because, you know, some of the people on the Jivamukti side of things may not know you that well. I know that you're quite well known in some other circles. Maybe your connection to Shamdas and all of that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. Well, here we start with this photo. This is in the 90s, and of course, this is after years of music and all that. But my background is started out with rock and roll and jazz and blues, but then I went to my dad's a classical musician, so I really thought I should really learn what the ropes were, and you know, walk in the streets that Brahms walked on and learn the classical music. So I did all that, and you know, many years of being in Europe, but I was always interested in both classical music and what you could consider folk music. They always have this parallel. And then spiritual, it's called spiritual music or religious music. And whether it's African music or Indian music, and you know, Indian music has great folk music, but it has such strong classical tradition. And classical, it doesn't mean, you know, the period of Mozart. It's a broad term, the classics, you know. So in Western music could be Bach to you know, Igor Stravinsky and beyond. But in classical Indian music, it's based on raga. And here I am in Nathdwar, and this is in Rajasthan. And I was introduced to Shamdas, who's an American who's no longer with us, but he's known to, I think, everybody in the Jivamukti community. Was an amazing teacher, Sanskrit scholar, and kirtanwala, singer. And so we got together after my connection with Krishna Das, and this is the guru of the temple in Nathdwar, and it's really this whole village, this whole town is devoted to Srinathaji, which is the black Krishna, the dark Krishna, which you know, the story is the image of him, or the symbolism, came out of the ground. And so there are temple singers there, and every day, several times a day, they have darshan, which is the blessing, and the singers are there, and it's just, you feel like you might as well be 3,000 years ago. And so Shamdas talked to the head guru, and what's wonderful about this is that this is a lineage of the aristocracy that became gurus. So they sort of threw off the riches and became gurus, and so from many generations. So this young man was next in line, and he had the idea of recording the music. So every day I would go to the temple, and then we'd go out in the upper chambers, and I would record it. And I recorded 99 tracks, and I said, well, which of these 99 tracks would you want to put on the CD? I thought maybe 12, and he said, oh, all 99 tracks. So we made a 6 CD set, which is to this day played on the loudspeakers of the village, and it's played continuously. So Shamdas joked that more people have heard this music than anything else I've done. So because millions of people come as pilgrims to this Nathwar. Yeah, so I mentioned Krishna Das. It's a very big part of my, experience with chanting, and I think a lot of people know the background of Krishna Das. And so he's connected me with a lot of people, and one was just this interesting offshoot was that one day he connected me with the drummer of Rusted Root, and I think Brooke Smokeland is maybe viewing this, but she's connected with Rusted Root, and so that was a interesting time of, and so it's the combination of music that goes into the background of this music goes into what we did, and I just wanted to just give an example. Oh, she's going to play something now, I guess, but this is just a fun little. This is what I was doing. So something slightly
very
different.
short. I was just trying to get into the groove. They have some great grooves, the Rusted Root people.
Yeah, that's Woodstock '99. So that's something that I was doing. And so my background is that all the way to classical music, and but I think that's all part of the album. And I was just gonna take an example where there's a track called Celtic Mataram that Gabrielle and I worked on this idea of sort of a Celtic mood. And then we went into a chant, and it starts with a sort of minor major. And the thing is that in Indian music, there's hardly ever any harmonies in the classical music. But what I did is, of course, and it's been done before, but it just to introduce harmonies. So instead of just a drone where you're just that change it gives a lot of different feeling, and that harkens back to, you can say something like Wagner or Mahler, so I think that's what's a part of this music as well. And I loved working with both of you, and the fact that Gabriella had such sensitivity with the melody as she's spoken about, and the words just sort of take you down this journey. And then Hari, much to my surprise, is a musician, and maybe he didn't know that, but he would come up with melodies and sort of motifs and things, and kind of he would sort of whisper in my ear and like, oh, that sounds interesting. So we were just kind of thrown together, but it was one of these wonderful things where you have to get something done, and a lot of musicians were brought in. I should mention Noah Hoffeld played cello, and he does this wonderful thing where he doesn't just play one track, he plays multiple tracks, so it sort of sounds like a string quartet. Jeff Van Ho, Neil Rosenthal, Jonathan Roth, and of course, and I guess mention my daughter and my wife. They both sang on it, and Luna, my daughter Priya Luna, has such a lovely voice, and I think it paired so well with Gabriella, and we'll probably at some point see a picture of them. So that it was just a wonderful journey. That's Priya.
I second that. I have great respect for both Alex and Luna, how patient they are. They welcomed this album into their home where you have your studio, and they sang on it. They sang backup vocals. They gave so much input. They listened. As you said, Luna is natural. She's a natural musical voice. Obviously, she's your daughter, both of you. And Alex is this strong, amazing force behind this household, I can say, because I've seen it. She is a Rudolf Steiner philosopher, eurythmy teacher. She teaches at the Waldorf School. She does so many things so great. You can't you can't point to one thing. So we've all been friends for many, many years. So it was easy. We felt like we've done this for a long time, and they were very gracious. Late at night, John, in his own way, would, I don't know, he would be taking like take number 28 and they would still sing 10:30, between Luna's homework and next day they have to go to school. I have great appreciation for it. We have to thank a lot of people, including them. And I'm just grateful to be part of this team,
Yeah. Well, I
Oh,
don't,
that's outside the Palma restaurant on your birthday, Gabs, remember?
Yeah, it felt like Luna was sort of somehow part of family for me, because I don't have any brothers and sisters, but meeting her felt like a sister, and Alex as well. And I really enjoyed as part of the experience. We weren't just making an album together. We somehow did things together. It wasn't just work, like going with John's family to prayer one night or having meals together. It was a wholesome experience. And I hope and feel that's come through the album, that sense of togetherness,
So let me ask, maybe I'll start with you, Gabrielle. What is your favorite track amongst the 10 that we have? And one of them is actually just a reprise of Radhe Krishna. Yeah.
Instinctive answer, favorite track is the one that starts Patram Pushpam Phalantoyam Yomi Bhaktya Prayachati. It's just such a special feeling. I remember playing it with a guy in London, and after him listening to it a few times, he was sort of lulled into a sense that everything was okay.
Shall we listen to it for 2 minutes?
Sure.
I know that wasn't the one that we planned, but I hope
maybe you wanted me to say one of my favorites was one of the 3 that we planned.
No, I wasn't planning anything.
That part is about a few minutes in, right? Oh no, it's the beginning. It's the beginning.
Nice.
Patram pushpam phalantoyam yomi bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti ashnami prayatatmana Patram pushpam phalantoyam yomi bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha.
Nice. You want to hear more and more of it. So I know, John, you also love this. You put in a lot of work into it. You played the piano. You wanted to talk about it?
What's interesting is that's the piece I was talking about, but I love that minor major thing that happens, that like that back and forth. And then this line that I don't know who who came up with it, yeah. That thing is such a great, I mean, it just has this feeling of longing but going somewhere. And I think we sat down. I always like to just get a piece of paper and where is this going? You know, like it, and we talked about, you know, we have to know where we're going, but we have to, you know, allow ourselves to go through this process. And part of that is coming down. You know, we talked in the beginning about the suffering, and we all have suffering in them, but kind of lifting out. It's a common theme, but I think it has that aspect in the album. And there's this idea of sort of that, you know, there's this planetary, you know, we're not just here on this earth, it's this whole universe. And I think Kari, when she talked about the gopis, the devotees of Krishna were we're all in this planet and sort of all guiding. I don't know, it doesn't in a way matter as long as it's helping you get somewhere. And it's sort of like you always feel like it's coming from somewhere, you know. And I don't know, that's what I felt about this piece, that it moves, and it, as Gabrielle was saying, it sort of lulls you. So.
And on that topic, Harry, can I just ask, what was your favorite one?
Sure, yeah, I'll tell you. But before that, I wanted to say something about Patram Pushpa. You know, obviously the real, you know, the actually the literal meaning of the Sanskrit words, it's verse from the Bhagavad Gita where Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that, you know, the whole concept there is bhakti and humility. You know, if you offer patram, leaf, pushpam, flower, toyam, water, you know, when it's offered with love, I will accept it. You know, God is saying it's about not what you're offering, but how you offer it and what you feel in your heart. Because Arjuna is asking Krishna, you know, what is the right way to do this, right way to live, right way to worship? And Krishna had answers, all kinds of answers. So this track is inspired from the Bhagavad Gita, obviously, and the music makes it very interesting to chant. So okay, so I'll go next. My favorite is, I must say, you know, we all came up with the different words and everything, but I think the way that Radhe Krishna Murare came out, like all out of the blue when we were in the studio. I have that making of audio clip. I always actually listen to it when I feel a little bit hopeless when you read all the bad news. I listen to things and I go, okay, well, this is a whole other way of looking at life. To me, it was, it's like from the Bhagavatam where the gopis are, you know, very sort of arrogant. Well, she's playing it. I'll listen to it. Okay, go ahead, Caroline. Thank you for playing it.
Radhe Krishna Murare, 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 Radhe Krishna.
Anyway, real quick. So the gopis get a little bit arrogant because they had Krishna in their back pocket, so to speak. They're hanging out with God in the forest, you know, like Shyam Das used to explain it. And then all of a sudden, you know, Krishna teases them a little bit by disappearing. And they are extremely furious. They are upset. And they look everywhere in the forest looking for Krishna outside. But he disappears into their own heart. So the idea there, the teaching is, you know, it's sometimes we have to look in our own heart. What we're looking for is not outside. So that song to me is the lamentation of the gopis. You know, it's just a representative of that. And I like this sort of like a melancholy feel that it has, and John just brought it to life with the music. In fact, with the way it came about, if you remember, he was playing the keys, and then I started chanting it, and then it went to the next level, and then you picked it up, Gavin. Within a second, you were actually chanting exactly what it sounds like on the album. It wasn't even changed that much since that moment. So to me, it was magical. I'm sure many great musical things came out like that, not through a lot of planning and contriving, but just spontaneously from another place. So that's my favorite. Long answer to a short question.
And maybe we should include something that's got a little rhythm on it.
Okay.
Maybe the Durga piece. This is what I also want to mention is that I love that if there's musicians in the crowd here, that a lot of the pieces that have rhythm are naturally in not straight beats, or in 5s or 7s, and the
7/4s,
yeah. And it just sometimes a piece in the odd meter can sound kind of loopy, but they still really feel natural. So yeah.
कात्यायन्यै च विद्महे कन्याकुमार्यै धीमहि तन्नो दुर्गा प्रचोदयात्. कात्यायन्यै च विद्महे कन्याकुमार्यै धीमहि.
Well, that's, you can stop, but that's it. You have to buy it to hear the whole thing.
I mean, the jazzy part, very cool, right?
Yeah, and how do you had the idea of the horns, and there's a couple of times that you had the idea, in kirtan often the responses are always with sung, but there's is it Vimala? I think it's it's the response is sometimes by the horns, which is it's cool. It's
Also in the Radhe Krishna Murare.
right.
Da, 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 da.
And the horns pick it up, which it makes it, more, it's whatever you want to call it, orchestral or whatever. That's the great thing about collaborations, that, I do things that you would never do yourself, that people spark things in you.
Right, because in my mind, I didn't have any rules. I'm not a musician. I was like, whatever, just put this, put that, and you guys make it up. Sure. And make sure that it comes out well. That's all I was saying to you. And you looked at me like, what, really? This?
You could do that. Paramahamsa Vimalam Paramahamsa
Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha. Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha.
This sounds great. I would like to have this album.
Hey, Gabriela, can you tell us the meaning of the way you see Vimala Paramahamsam? I just say the phrase many times during the day. I just love it. Vimala Paramahamsam. It's just so exalted,
It really is. It's just a phrase that totally stood out from that hymn, if you like. It just shone out as a special phrase. Sanskrit speaks for itself. We often just don't need the meaning. Like you said, that phrase just keeps coming. And sometimes if you read many Sanskrit passages, some will just shine out, and without needing to know the meaning, you just know this is the phrase that is to be repeated. It's so natural because Sanskrit is so musical in itself. So like, even without knowing the meaning, Vimala Paramahamsam Ramakrishnam Bhajamaha, and taking the first bit, you Vimala Paramahamsam, you just feel good saying it. Even the people watching now, if you try saying Vimala Paramahamsam, you know, it's such nice sounds. They're so simple. Vi, ma, la, pa, ra, ma, hum, sa. It's all it is e, ah. That's all it is. But we never really make sounds. Like we don't go e, ah. But the Sanskrit Vedas, they do make these sounds. And then the meaning comes from the consonants. Vi, v, m, l, p, r, m, h, nsa. And the consonants somehow thrown on top of the vowels bring the whole thing to life. And then we know the swan, hamsa, but that's just us, the breath of human life. Vimala-parama is pure and untainted. So in this very one statement, you have that at our essence, we're all 100% untainted by all that's going on, by COVID, by any president you like or don't like. Even the president themselves is pure and untainted. That's the thing. We're all Vimala Paramahamsam. So it's like the swan untainted with any judgments of other people, any judgments from ourselves, just supreme. Like it's like reclaiming our sovereignty as human beings. Like John is king, Hari is king, I'm queen. We don't need another king or queen because we are the kings and queens. Just we're in a sovereign state of humanity. And every animal, every being in the creation, Vimala Paramahamsam, the birds are singing Vimala Paramahamsam. Especially now in our hemispheres, it's spring. Whenever we hear the birds, that's what they're singing. They're just singing the Hamsa, the I am. Like, that's why it's such a beautiful phrase. It has the imagery and stories like that are in John's heart. It has the swan song, and it has the meditation. You know, it's a meditation, a story, an image, but it's also just an essence of supreme purity and the I am with nothing else.
Beautiful.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Look, if we had a real launch party, right, we would welcome everybody into this beautiful space, some kind of a barn, you know, in the woods and the forest, and we would listen, and we would have had great food, and we would have had chai with oat milk and all of that beautiful things. Unfortunately, we can't do it, but we hope that someday we will have a live concert of this album and potentially others. We'll keep you posted. We're getting to the close. If anyone watching from the audience has any questions, we're happy to answer. I know that a number of people had schedule conflicts. They wanted to watch this later. The good news is that the recording will be available on Facebook on the Jivamukti Yoga page. So
but can you edit out my mistake from the beginning?
No, your mistake is beautiful. It wasn't a mistake. It was perfect.
It was perfect, yeah.
There are no mistakes.
You're a queen.
You're Vimala Paramahamsam. So that recording will be there. People can watch it afterwards. The music, of course, is live on Apple Music and iTunes. The last time I checked, they're giving generous previews of all the tracks, like more than like a minute. So if you don't want to buy anything, I understand how it works. You could just listen to the little bits for free. It's online. But we hope that people feel like this album should be in their collection of meditation and yoga and inspiration section. Hope you enjoy it.
I have a question, Hari. What does it say on John's t-shirt?
Well, you ask him. I hope he knows.
John, what does it say?
It's a
I'm
quote.
also a Sanskrit scholar. No, I'm not. Ram. I
Just-
told you that.
Well, he knew it. I think you needed to be reminded of
I
it
did
or
know.
something.
I know that one.
It sounds like it came from the KD world of a Bandara or something, right?
It's Shama, Shams, not Shamdas, Shama as a CD. It's Loves.
Oh, Ram, yeah. So, oh, nice. Love's
Yeah.
Door. I actually remember that. So, thank you for everybody. Thanks for watching. We are very grateful that you took time out on a Friday afternoon here in the States, evening there in Europe and in the UK. Again, we send a lot of love and prayers for everybody to feel at ease in this time, that people recover and somehow you're able to deal with it. You get the strength to deal with it. Sometimes we cannot remove these things, right? Everybody in life is, we all face things. That's just the nature of life on this planet. But we feel by using these tools of yoga, the tools of Jivamukti yoga, for example, they'll let you cope with extraordinary things in life. And Sanskrit and music offered like this, we hope will be useful to you as well. So to close out, I think we're going to listen to the last track on the CD called Sahana Vavatu. There's also a prayer we used to chant at Ananda Ashram all the time. They still do. Anything else you want to add, Gabriella and John? I'll give you the last words before the music comes on.
Just enjoy the album and may it be with you daily, and may these songs and melodies become part of your fabric of your being, so that even when you can't listen to the album, you have the songs and melodies in your heart and you can sing them yourself. May they become part of you. I wish that for you.
Mm, beautiful. I agree. And we put our hearts and souls into this, so we just want to share it with the world. And I love this collaboration, as I mentioned. So collaborate with us and sing along like Gabrielle mentioned. Thank you.
And then, because we're not going to talk again after the music, I want to thank Caroline, thank Jason from Jivamukti Yoga, Mariella, the designers. So many people work tirelessly behind the scenes to put and help us make this happen. I want to thank all of them from all three of us. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Garavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai Ma vidvishavahai
Thank you for coming.